Hey folks, Bill here with Guillory Fine Art. I'd like to show you something that I've been doing for relaxation and also to create a work of art. What I have here is a image that I took during the Renaissance Festival. I've edited, I've done slight editing and added a vignette to it and done proper exposure, and now I'm going to take this image and I'm going to duplicate the layer, turn the bottom layer off because I want to maintain the colored layer. On this layer I'm going to go to effects, I'm going to go to develop, and I am going to take the saturation down. I'm gonna bump up the whites a little bit, drop down the blacks, and I'm going to make another layer. On this top layer I'm going to go to effects, add a filter, and I'm going to add curves filter. In the curves I'm going to change the style default to invert, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to click on the gear icon and change the blending options to color dodge. Then I'm going to go back and add another filter. This time I'm going to add a blur. Now there's several different blur options that you have. I find Gaussian or surface blur works the best. For now I'm going to stay with Gaussian blur, and I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to lower down the amount about right there. I don't really care for the shading that you get with the Gaussian blur right here, so I'm going to drop the opacity and drop the amount down to right about there so I can see it like that. Okay, now that I have that, I'm going to right click on the top layer. A new stamped layer is what I want, and I'm going to turn the two middle layers off. I'm going to turn the colored layer on the bottom on. Now I could double click on the name and rename it. Okay, I'm going to go back to my top layer, and if I wanted to I could lower down the opacity and let the color come through, which some people might like that effect just like that, and add a little texture to it and be done. But what I want to do is I want to add a personal touch to it, so I'm going to keep the opacity up. I'm going to go to my masking tool by hitting B on my keyboard, and that's going to bring up my brush options in the mask. And I've selected a shape. I've selected this shape right here. It may or may not be a default shape, but there's tons of shapes that you can get online. So with that shape selected, I'm going to set my opacity to 23, flow rate about 58. I'm going to pan down, and I'm going to basically make sure that I'm paint out. So I'm basically erasing the top layer and letting the colored layer come through with each stroke. And the more I stroke on top of it, the more opacity the more color you will get. So if there is a place like under the chin, if I wanted it to be darker, I just go over it several times. Now I am changing the size of my brush by scrolling my mouse, and I am using a mouse, but I do have a Wacom tablet, and I will switch over right now to the Wacom tablet. And on a Wacom tablet, if you come up to the gear icon up here, you can see it's set for pressure adjust size and pressure adjust opacity. So I'm gonna use my bracket key and make a larger size. Now if I just lightly touch it, it's just going to be a small brush, but as I go larger, as I add the pressure, it will get larger. So basically it's like I am painting in the color, and this is the therapeutic part I was talking about. I find it relaxing, and you can just go through the image using using the shift key down if you want to pan, or you can use the navigation panel, and that is what I have been doing to create art lately, and also enjoying peace and quiet while I have it. Now as a final touch, after I've finished, I'll go ahead and do it now, but when I'm finished with the image, I will on top of here, I'll add a filter, I'll add a texture, come in the category, it's walls. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to walls. I'm going to scroll down, select BG. If it ever stops moving, if I can find it. I created my own section, BG, and in that section I will select a crosshatch that I have made. I'll select that, and what that does is it adds a texture to it that looks like a canvas. Control plus. As you can see in her eyes, you can see the cross hatching. I will turn the texture off and on, and you can see it adds to the likeness of a painting. I'm hitting Control negative to back out, or I can hit 25%. So that's how I do it. I hope this was helpful, and drop me a line if you liked it. Thanks.